Welcome to the Select Star Podcast, your resource for innovative technology, developer topics, and more. Here's your host, Margot McCabe from the HarperDB team.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Select Star, the HarperDB podcast. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. Today, we have a guest from Spain who is named Marcin. He's a front-end JavaScript developer and a conference speaker. I'm pretty excited to be chatting with you today. So thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hello. And before we get started, would love to hear just a little bit about who you are, your background, where you're based out of, any fun facts or anything like that.
I can start. I live in Spain already like 8 years, but I'm originally from Poland.
Okay.
And yeah, I like my current country. The weather is nice, but it's getting pretty hot recently. And yeah, it's good.
I think it's getting hot everywhere recently. You're not alone. Yeah. And what part of Spain are you in?
Right now, I live in Valencia, which is on the east coast, on the Mediterranean. It's like the third biggest city, just after Madrid and Barcelona. It's slightly less known than those cities, but it has a very good vibe. A lot of tech community here, like the online space is very active, and yeah, it's a good place.
That's awesome. Yeah, I visited there once a long time ago. I remember the building. There's a really cool building on the water that's like a sphere or a half sphere. I can't remember what it's called, but
yes, Ciudad de Ciencias.
Yeah. That was really cool. All the architecture there is really cool. Very cool. And so what's your sort of background in tech? What are you doing now for work, or how long have you been in the tech industry? How long have you been a developer?
Well, right now, like the last 8 years, I'm JavaScript developer. 8 or 9 years. I mostly work with Angular JS, with the older Angular, but there are still companies using it, and as often you see in the tech, like once you start everything, once you build a complete solution using one technology, then you're kind of stuck with it. Like rewriting everything from scratch is kind of difficult, so it doesn't happen that often. And yeah, like I'm working with it. I started like very long time ago. I was probably around 10, so it was it was kind of funny. What?
That's very impressive.
Yeah, like actually, like I don't know how it happened, but my mother just noticed that I spend a lot of time with computers, so she probably figured out that it would be better if I were doing something useful and not playing computer games. She kind of scared me into thinking that it's already too late, that I should be, I don't know when, starting programming when I was 6, I guess. But anyway, like I had this opportunity of starting like pretty early. My father had at the company where he was working, there was some programmers, so he just brought some books from work, and like I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to start a compiler. My first language was Visual Basic 6, I think, and of course I was trying to making some video games with it. It's not so easy to make asteroid-like game with spaceships going around when you have no clue what is about trigonometry. But anyway, like I was experimenting, and this is how I started. Later, when I was already working, I met a lot of people who are actually started, like, let's say, at normal age. So yeah, but my start was like I had a very head start.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
That's unique. That's clearly you knew what you were passionate about, and you decided to stay on that track, which is great. Are you and what are you doing now? Do you work for yourself? Are you with a company at the moment, or?
I'm self-employed.
Okay,
Actually, I was pretty much always self-employed.
awesome.
It's just, I don't know. It's because like the benefits sounds good in general, but like when I was at the beginning of my career, I was working in Poland, so it usually made economical sense just to be self-employed, and then once I got used to uh like the typical downsides of well, if you are not working, you are not making money. So like if you get sick, you have vacation, then you have to kind of budget around it. I This is how I started. So like I this is something I was always having in my mind, and yeah, like I like the flexibility of the hours. So this is this is definitely a big advantage for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's one of the biggest arguments I hear for people that are self-employed. It's just the flexibility, the autonomy. It's there's definitely pros and cons, but I think that's one of the biggest
Mm,
ones I hear. Awesome. So I know you mentioned that you are exploring QA on your blog currently.
mhm.
Wanted to touch a little bit into that, software testing, QA. Why is this important for companies and teams and individual developers to do? And what are the different sort of methods and types of software testing that can be done?
So like yeah, uh, so in general, like for front-end developers, I think, well, for any developer, writing unit test is kind of like a very big part of the profession, because like it's not always the best choice, but like doing this red green like test driven development with when you are first writing unit test, and then you are trying to to update code in a way that it will make the test pass. So this is very nice process for just creating the code, which like pretty much the alternative is that you are kind of trying to do something and go to the browser and click through your application, and it's always like kind of tempting to do this let's say quick and dirty approach, but like in long run it makes more sense to spend some time investing into learning how to write unit tests than invest time into first creating tests, and after that creating your application code. And because you will have to test in one way or another anyway, and if you are writing tests, then you have something left, something that you will be able to put to your commit, store for later, and have some kind of reference of what the code is supposed to do. So this is let's say like unit testing, just checking that the function that the methods and functions are doing the things that they are expected to do. And on a slight, like on a from a higher point of view, like it would be great to just see if the user is able to go to use our application to do the things in the application they want to do. So for this kind of testing, we have end-to-end testing, which are which are kind of a way of automating what the user would be doing, just like clicking through our application, filling up forms, like seeing if the results are if on the screen we have the results we expect. And as you work, like you will do it manually, but it's just while you are programming, right? You don't want you don't want your application to only behave correctly when you are when you are doing when you are aware that you are doing some changes to a given part. You want to
Right.
have some kind of process to make sure that the application will be correct like in a half a year, or like in whatever time it will be still used, and it will still need to be doing the things we want. And for that, it's E2E is a great writing E2E test is a great great tool for achieving the high quality. And yeah, like as a front-end developer, it depends on your on how the team is how the team is structured. Like if you have dedicated tester, but it will be always welcome, I guess, from front-end developer to help a little bit, or either with setting up, or even if you have tester around, they will probably ask you to maybe, I don't know, add some classes or add some attributes to your elements. So this is something that is definitely like overlapping with front end. So yeah, that's
Yeah, no, that's a helpful overview. Great. And so what would you say, in your opinion, are some of the best processes or best practices to go about software testing in QA? Or in other words, are there any big issues or roadblocks that you've ever come across, or tips on how to kind of stay successful, like best practices that come to mind?
Well, I think that like in the team I'm working already like 8 years. I was, let's say, the one pushing for like improving quality and some kind of automated quality assurance, but still it takes a lot of willpower, maybe, just to like test unit test, or writing unit test, or writing E2E. It's not the most glamorous part of that job. It's sometimes it feels often repetitive, and well, it's usually, especially for E2E, you're quote unquote already done with the feature, and then you have to add and then you are adding tests, and it's usually like, if it's afternoon, then you maybe feel lazy. But I found it sometimes it's just worth doing a little bit of effort, for forcing myself to. And even though I was pushing for this kind of improvement to be done, it was still sometimes difficult for me, and I was still kind of hoping that somebody will force me in the pull request to kind of like add the tests when I was clearly not doing enough. It's definitely for creating unit test. It's when I'm kind of like exploring a new thing, when I'm not sure if what I'm doing will work. That's not a moment. That's not a place for using like test-driven development. But when I already have pretty much good understanding of what's happening, and how it should be, how it could be solved, then I think it's just more productive to write unit tests and code at the same time. And for like everybody's using some ticketing system. With that team, we are using Jira. So usually I'm, even when I, for writing E2E, when I'm kind of lazy for making the test immediately with the feature, I'm just making like a subtask to whatever task I was working on, and I'm make this subtask to kind of like add the E2E test slightly later. And this is this is something that like for me it works pretty well, because when I have a ticket, I feel like there is something I should deliver, and there is no way of kind of cheating and just pretending that there is no feature that it's worth testing. E2E in general are kind of they are expensive in a sense that they take some time to, like, sometimes it takes a lot of time to write them. They are much slower than unit tests. So I'm very much in favor of writing E2E, but I have seen E2E being overdone. Just like, I don't know, some, like, I think with E2E I would focus on like a happy flow for the user. So like if we have a online shop application, I would make sure that the customer is able to pick a product and buy it, and not necessarily, I don't know, every edge cases of, I don't know, applying discount coupons or whatever, because, well, depending what resources we have, but like especially the happy flow, the flow that is necessary for the company to make money, that should be tested. But like those edge cases, they are probably, it will be easier to test them precisely with unit testing, with all the, let's say, rounding issues you could have with like discounts or whatever. And at the same time, like the growing, as your application grows, you will have more and more tests, like kind of piling up. With like the job I've mentioned before, it's been like 8 years since we are working together, and it's, I think, around 400 E2E pretty much running on every single commit. So that's a lot. And at some point, it just takes time, and as the number of tests is growing, then you find yourself in a situation when it's getting to be either too slow or too slow, so slow that it starts to impact your productivity. So then it's kind of a time for trying to improve the performance, or start running tests in parallel, and this can get kind of complicated if you are running on some kind of continuous integration agents. And it's I think with testing with quality assurance, and especially with E2E tests, as your solution is growing, and as you kind of as you have those challenges popping up, actually it's getting pretty complex. And you're, for example, if you are getting to if you wanted to get into IT and you just started with testing, if you really go deep into testing, you will have like a lot of things to learn, like from Docker, from continuous integration solution, a lot of tools that you can be using for testing. For it's like a world of its own, and it's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And it sounds like, as you mentioned, with 8 years under your belt, you've probably experienced some ups and downs that come along with the software testing, and learned sort of the best tips and things to to make sure that you don't come across those roadblocks again. And would you say that there's any specific like software tools or technologies that have really helped with this process?
So like, because I'm working with Angular JS for a long time, I was mostly using Protractor tests. Protractor, like test runner, it's running on Selenium. It actually improved over the years quite a lot, because it used to require Java, which was probably the only tool on my stack that required Java. So I had to figure out how to install it, and which version is correct, and whatnot. Right now, if I remember correctly, Selenium doesn't require Java anymore, but anyway, like Protractor is going to it didn't got any updates for the last 2 or 3 years, and it will be most likely deprecated soon. The tool I discovered, I started using like maybe a year or a year and a half ago. It's Cypress, and after with all my experience with Protractor and like 6 years of kind of dealing with all the weird quirks of kind of building tests with Protractor, Cypress was really, really impressive. At first, I was kind of, when I was reading about when I was doing my quick reads about the landscape of E2E, when I learned that Protractor is going to be deprecated. At first, Cypress, I was kind of suspicious, because it's like, okay, that's it's like it's made by a commercial company. They have some kind of cloud offering, so like it's great that they have so nice features, but like probably everything worth mentioning is part of the paid package or whatever they have they have with the in the cloud offering. But actually it turns out not to be true. There is some use some value that the cloud is offering, but actually like most of the things that I was really happy about, like recording the screen, like having the ability of just kind of like scrolling back in time to see how the application what we had on the screen as the tests were running. All those things are kind of just available for whoever is using Cypress for running E2E. So right now I'm very happy with Cypress, and it's like I'm really impressed with how much this space matured from let's say I don't know, 10 years ago, or maybe even more, when it was when Selenium was pretty much the only available tool, and everything felt kind of hacky. So yeah, now it's much better, and I think that right now we don't really have excuses as a developers to say like, oh no, there is no way of testing applications in browser. Actually, yeah, there are very good tools that can be used, and that will make it very easy for debugging. Like one scenario that I found very painful with my previous setup was that it's if you have test failing on your machine, then you just rerun it until you tweak it and rerun it as often as necessary, and then you have solution, you commit it, and that's it. So that's an easy case, and not so easy case is when you have when the test is flaky, because instead of running it once and seeing the issue, you probably need to run it like 10 times, and then it will fail once or twice. So this is already kind of much more annoying for troubleshooting. And the worst possible case is when you have test that is like, flaky or not flaky, but the issue only happens on your CI server. So that was my often my pain, that I was having a test that is failing on continuous integration. It's like there is some log that is kind of saying something like a given element cannot be clicked because it's not on the screen, or something is on top of it, or something like, okay, of course it was wrong, because on that this button should be there, but it wasn't. but like having it as a starting point of troubleshooting, where it could be so many things that went wrong, something like on the login procedure, or like whatever was done before that part of the test, just troubleshooting from this very limited log was difficult. Well, difficult slash impossible. But so in Protractor, at some point, we with my team, we've been just kind of trying to save screenshots in case of when the test was failing, like in a with the hope that, okay, maybe on the screenshot there will be some information. Maybe this, well, maybe it will help for finding the root cause of a failing test. So that was helping a little bit, but it was kind of like ad hoc solution, just a configuration that we did. And actually, what Cypress gives you, like out of the box, is just by default it's recording, like, let's say, videos of the tests running, so you can just keep those videos on your continuous integration. If there is some situation like this, that some test is just failing only on CI and maybe only from time to time, then you just, when it happens, you go, you see you see what was happening when it failed, and it provides so much more detail. And usually you have something to just, like, I don't know, you see if it was application failing to start, or if it was some other, sometimes like some pop-up showing up, or whatever, that made the screen look differently than what the test was expecting. So this is something I really really enjoy about Cypress. And as a kind of like a side note, it's sometimes very tempting, especially if you are tired and you are sure that you know perfectly what's happening. It's often tempting just to brush off the failing test, and it's like, oh, that's yeah, that's a flaky test. Just let's disable it and just commit it as it is and just let it go. We shouldn't spend too much time on fighting with our testing infrastructure. But in I'm very reluctant to do something like this, and I'm very and sometimes I was really unhappy with seeing my work colleagues just kind of being very very relaxed about letting those things happen like this. Because often when I put this effort of, like, I don't know, spending 2 or 4 hours, or sometimes maybe even days, of chasing some test flakiness, there was something behind it. So it could be that it was often something that we didn't know about our testing infrastructure. So it was more investment into kind of like keeping the testing stack up to date. But sometimes it was like some issue that could happen with customers, the same, like, I don't know, once in 1,000 times the application was not starting, or things like this. And it's if you are serious about keeping the high quality, it's better to just fix those things and have your application working correctly, like always.
Yeah, thank you. Those are some really helpful tips. And thanks for going more in depth into that. I've seen people talking about Cypress more and more, have never checked it out myself, but I think that's probably quickly becoming one of the tools of choice in this area.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I know you mentioned that you're writing a little bit about this topic right now, and maybe building some courses related to it. So excited to see kind of what content you release around this, because it's a really helpful topic. I know you've also talked about how communication and writing skills are so important, especially when it comes to remote work, tracking issues, things like that. Our company has been working remote ever since the pandemic hit. We're actually about to be going back into an office, which I'm super excited about. But I definitely agree there that having some sort of writing and communication skills is one of the best ways to keep things flowing, because obviously you can't just walk into an office of someone next door and have the conversation. You have to figure out how to say what you need to say on Slack or on email or write a blog or whatever you need to do. So would love to hear just from a high level some of your thoughts around that, in terms of like what you've learned, how to improve those writing skills, or how to keep up with your writing skills to sort of help with all those different areas of remote work and communication.
Like I think like, well, I totally agree that like writing is very important for developers, and I think it's like, I think often people are kind of underestimating writing, just because like it's not no, it's let's say soft skill, but actually you have to be able to, well, programming is writing as well, right? So all the things, all the advices you have for writing, just kind of making it easy to follow, like not using over complete, not keeping your paragraphs short, like using sentences, using short sentences, things that are like you could kind of map all the advices for writing well on, and advices for writing, for coding well, as a there is some overlap for sure. And like like I think everybody was sometimes at the meeting that felt like a waste of time, that you could just think that like, God, this meeting could have been like an email thread, or maybe even one email, or some memo that was that would be sent to people. And to be able to kind of save everybody's time, writing is very helpful, right? Because instead of coming to a meeting, or calling your colleague on a getting your colleague on a call, you can just send them all your doubts, document like what you're thinking, document document the issue, make your point very well understood, send it, have them read it, and then meet to kind of discuss things. So this is a way how you could just like improve communication, and make sure that it's going, that the time is better used. And especially as you have well, if you want to talk with people, who are kind of busy because they are like hiring hierarchy, and they have like a lot of issues to be resolved, there is a lot of things coming to them, it makes sure it makes sense to just kind of make it easier for them to learn about your issue, to learn about your problem, and just be able to kind of respond to it in a asynchronous manner. And like the alternative of writing, just coming somewhere and on the spot improvising whatever that's that just feels like a waste of time, right? If you like in programming, we are dealing like in programming, like with building applications, like technical issues, or like the like there is a lot of things that are kind of complicated, and there are better ways of talking about complicated things than just improvising a speech on a spot. And one of those more efficient way of communicating is writing. And I think is like very important for developers to be able to communicate in writing efficiently, because there is no way there is no way of avoiding it. If somehow you manage not to write emails, not to write tickets, not to write comments, at some point you will have to write the like a comment on the code, and yeah, you as a developer you will write anyway. There is no way there is no way out of it.
Yeah, you make a good point. And I think, there's a common theme with a lot of folks, a lot of developers that I talk to, with saying like, hey, you have to start somewhere. So if you hate writing, or you're afraid to write in public or something, there's so many platforms like Hashnode, Dev.to, HackerNoon, so many other blogging platforms and things where you can just get started and practice and write some blogs about things you know about, or do some research and write a blog about something you're learning. And then you can ask people for their honest feedback. I see people do that all the time. Like, hey, really want your feedback, whether it's good or really bad, about how can I improve my writing skills? Here's like a short piece, even if it's just a couple of paragraphs. So I think for people listening, like, there's lots of ways to get started and get feedback, even if it's not from your team internally or your company. There's such a big community online that can help you build those skills as well.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing I think that, like, it can be that some people are underestimating how much work it takes to write, because like, this is how you are refined. It's not only a skill, it's a time you are spending on the thing you are writing. Like, if you are trying to write something like very well, like, you first have a draft, then you review that draft, then maybe the next day you are kind of like editing it again, and on every stage you put some thinking into that piece, and it's writing well is just time consuming. So like, don't expect that, or maybe at some point, but I'm definitely not there yet to be able to craft, like, I don't know, 2 pages or 4 pages within like half an hour or an hour, and be really happy with it. It's time. You have to invest time to get a good results. But again, this is especially if you are writing, let's say, for higher ups at your company, or you're writing something that will be read by many people. It's just good investment of your time. It's good investment to spend more time writing, to make sure that the 10 or 20 or 100 people who are going to read it, they will read it and understand your point the way you want to transmit it. So it takes time. I think there are no it takes time, but often it's just worth it. So, and it takes practice as well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's like with anything, it takes practice. You have to start somewhere. And I think people always appreciate the effort. It's better to make the effort and try than to just not try at all. And as you said, a lot of people probably do underestimate. I think people get, imposter syndrome and think that they can't do something if they don't have formal training or something. But really, anyone can do anything that they want to do. You don't have to have like a certain label or a certain qualification. So if you think you want to be a blog writer, but you have never written before, then you can just write a blog and then you're a blog writer. It's pretty straightforward. So I think those are good tips. Great. Well, these have all been really helpful. And for anyone listening, I'll be sure to put links to get in touch in the show notes, or if you want to check out his blog or anything like that. One question I always like to ask folks also is if you have any languages or frameworks or other types of tools, technologies that you're really excited about right now, even if it's totally outside of software testing, or whether it's related to software development or not, like any technologies that you're really excited about right now or wanting to learn over the next few months. It's a really great way for me and the audience to kind of learn about what we should be keeping our eye open for, or keeping on our radar?
I agree that's a good question, but maybe I'm too lazy or too complacent. I'm kind of happy with actually, like, in a way I think I will be learning like the newer Angular without JS. It's been a long time since I've been doing the Angular JS development. It's still around. There are companies, there are businesses running on it, but well, it's deprecated already for I think it was from the beginning of this year. So yeah, like as I don't want to become like a new age COBOL developer, just spending all my life with a legacy system and just kind of I don't know, getting stuck in it. I will be probably getting more up to speed with newer Angular. I'm just like more on a, let's say, as a, let's say, research or own curiosity. I've been checking other E2E tools, and yeah, like there are some other tools I like. Playwright, Playwright with which I was playing around recently, or Nightwatch I will be checking out. But like I think with technicals, if I were recommending something people to learn, is just like there are not only technical skills, so it's good to kind of grow your profile more more broadly, and I think like communication is always helpful yeah, in this or any other space.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great reminder. And I like that you started by answering that question with the fact that you're pretty content or happy with the tools and technologies that there already are. Because I don't hear people say that often, because I think there's a lot of pressure to be constantly learning and staying on top of everything that's coming out. But that would take so much time, and you still have to work and get your job done. And so if you're happy with the tools you have and it's working, then no need to waste your time trying to learn like every single new framework comes out or whatever it may be. So I think that's kind of a good reminder of what this, I think the saying is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I think that's awesome.
And I think with like kind of pressure to learn new stuff, it's good that it's good if somebody is doing it on a, let's say, private or maybe not even private, but like just a side project, maybe even inside the company or on the company time. But actually it's if you just squeeze new technologies into already existing stack just because you want to learn them, that's probably not a good long-term strategy for the company and for the team to just have a manageable stack.
Right.
So learning is good, but like using existing tools and learning them well, it's probably better.
Yeah, it's all about balance, I think. There's definitely like some folks I follow on Twitter that I think people go to get their latest opinion of everything that's coming out. But I'm sure for the most part, people just let other people test it out, some time, and then see if people are still talking about it.
Yes.
If it makes sense. So awesome. Well, this has been a really great and informative chat. I really appreciate you taking the time. As I mentioned, I'll put any links in the show notes. So as always, if people listening have any follow-up questions or feedback or anything, we always encourage you to get in touch with either me or with Marcin, or anytime we have a guest, feel free. I think people love to hear follow-up questions or anything like that. So really appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Cool. Thanks. See you.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to Select Star, your resource for innovative technology and developer topics. can find our episodes in all the usual places: Spotify, Apple, Google, RSS, and YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share. You can learn more about HarperDB at harperdb.io.